All right, this is Eric Vernicel. I'm here from NCSA Sports, and I've got Alex Washington. He's assistant men's basketball coach at Augustana. It is a D3 school in Illinois. How are you doing today, Coach?
Very well. I'm glad that I can join this important piece for families to understand a little bit more about who we are and what we kind of do here at Augustana.
Awesome, man. Well, I got a few questions here that we want to go through and get some really good information out to our families. First, I want to touch on a little bit is for you to talk a little bit about Augustana and what makes it a unique school and basketball program.
No problem. Well, for those that don't know, Augustana is located, we're in Rock Island, Illinois. We are a residential liberal arts college, so we are about 2,500 students. You're looking at a faculty-to-student ratio of about 12 to 1, so pretty small classroom size for engagement between faculty and those that are in those classes. From an academic standpoint, you're looking at about 70-plus majors. And one interesting thing that when you're looking at Augustana in terms of student athletes, we're actually in the top 10 across all divisions for academic All-Americans. So we have 155 academic All-Americans across all sports. Just to name a few that are above us, you're looking at Nebraska, Notre Dame, MIT, Penn State, and Stanford, and then us. So that speaks to both the academic experience but also the ability to balance athletics here at Augustana. Just a little bit about our basketball program, probably coming off one of our best years here at the college this past year where we made it to the national championship game for D3 sports, played Wisconsin-Stevens Point, came up a little bit short, finishing second in the country, but definitely a great experience. But when we talk about our basketball program, we're really looking at we like to look at the decade, the last 10 years, so from about 2005 to 2015. Just a few stats to throw out there for you. We've got about a 76% winning percentage overall, 214 and 68. One of the things we pride ourselves on is winning at home, so we've got a 116 and 21 record here at the Carver Center on our home court here. And then we've won 6 CCIW championships, 4 conference tournaments, and we've played in the NCAA tournament 6 times. So made it to the Elite Eight game in 2011, and as I mentioned this year, that 2015 national championship game. So definitely a great place to be, a great place to combine both academics and athletics. Just a little bit about the size of the institution. As you mentioned before, we are a private school, so we've got it's a unique experience where most of our students are living on campus for most of the 3 years and they have the ability to move off. But when you're looking at, there's a lot of factors that go into determining where you'll go to school, but one of those things is cost and academics and emphasis on those programs of study, but also, study abroad opportunities. What value do you get in return for the cost that you would spend on an education? And we've got some great initiatives here on campus that really provide some value. One that I'll mention is kind of our core department, which has been featured kind of in a few national publications, but it really combines kind of our study abroad, our Augie Choice, which is $2,000 students can use to study away, but also volunteer opportunities. Career development is a major piece of that. So how can we combine with a student what they're interested in, what they're going to study, so they can be valuable members to society once they leave here? And I think it's a great place if you're looking for that small liberal arts opportunity. So.
That's a lot of really great information, Coach. Appreciate that. And then diving into the next question here, what are some goals that you guys set every year for your basketball team?
When he talks about that, a lot of times people can get caught up on individual goals, or maybe they'll lose track of kind of that end goal that they have at the end of the year. And one of the messages that we preach to our team is that it is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So throughout the season, from the day you step on campus here, you'll be involved in training and those kind of things for our team, but you got to understand it's a long process. And so when you think of it that way, things will happen throughout the year, injuries or hot streaks, or lose a couple games here and there. And so you got to keep that big picture in mind towards the end. But some of the goals we really talk about is getting better as an individual and as a team on and off the court. So we're looking to produce and help mold, student athletes, but also valuable members to our community, because we know the better we are in our community, the more people that will come out and support us on the court. We also preach to focus on that next play, next situation, or that next game. One of the big things Coach Giovanni preaches is the fact that the most important game is the next game. So you can't lose track looking further down the schedule. You've got to take care of the task at hand. But also some other goals that we set, especially this year, we wanted to win all our home games. Definitely want to compete for conference titles, and if possible, host the CCIW tournament title. We like playing at home, so why not host that tournament here at our home court? And then I think the ending goal is definitely a deep NCAA postseason run. It's ironic because we never had a goal to make the national championship game or win the national championship this year. It was more about just making a deep postseason run. And when you can give your best and play at the level that we are capable of playing of, when you can live with the results and what will happen from there. So those are definitely some goals, but keeping that big picture in mind, but also the next goal, those small steps that will let you get there, is what we really kind of focus on here.
Awesome, Coach. Sounds like you guys met a lot of your goals these last couple of seasons as well.
Yeah, it normally doesn't happen, so when it comes together, you definitely celebrate something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So to go along with those goals, when you're looking for student athletes in the recruiting process, what's something that you look for to help you guys meet those goals?
Well, the first thing is you've got to be able to be accepted to the school, and so that's one of the things that's really important, especially for us at this Division III level, is we look for students who are great students who fit the overall profile of the school. So because we are D3, we're not allowed to offer any athletic scholarships based on athletic talent. So you're looking at merit-based scholarships or grants or gifts based upon academics, but also looking at need-based upon the FAFSA and also some loans in there. So the student athletes that we see and that we recruit are definitely invested in their education. We're looking for guys who definitely are looking for an opportunity to play big-time college basketball, but also be able to attend an institution that has big-time academics. And one of the things, especially individually looking at players, we're looking for players that are tough, that compete both defensively and offensively. As I mentioned, good students, good community members. And then I think the biggest thing is, does that student athlete fit a need that we have for our program? Needs change depending on the year. We might need, we might want to play fast, or we might need guards or bigs or something like that. And so does that person fit in our system? The worst thing you would want to do, or we would want to do, is bring somebody in that it probably doesn't fit, and then they don't have a chance to play based upon the way the team is going to shake out and the way we're going to approach that situation. So it's a delicate process, but I think the first part of that is definitely being accepted into the school so that we can get kind of that recruiting started with that. And then a lot of times now kids will think, I have to score a certain amount of points, or I have to show that I can shoot the ball. And it's not so much about that anymore. Everybody that's a good basketball player should be able to shoot, should be able to defend, and should be able to rebound and pass, and those things, those basic skills. So what makes you a little different is those things that we look for, that toughness, the competitiveness, but also that team mentality, and a great fit for our program.
And to go along with that question too, at a Division III school like Augustana, what's your guys' timeline like? When do you guys start targeting student athletes? When do you guys start reaching out to student athletes? Because at the Division III level, recruiting rules are a little bit different from Division II and Division I.
That's very true, and that's a good point. They are different rules. Some of them are a little more lax for what we can do, and some of them are a little more strict. But one of the things that we like to pride ourselves on is running our program very similar to a Division I program. Our head coach, Coach Giovanni, spent 15-plus years in the Division I coaching ranks and then came here. So a lot of things that we do are in line with what you would do at a Division I program. So when it comes to recruiting, one of the best things about being at a small school is that you get to know your alumni base, and so what we do is really pride ourselves on former players, keeping us in the loop when it comes to players that are available, that are looking for schools, and those are the best guys to know because they know what we're looking for in a player for our program. But we're doing the same thing, so you're looking at spring tournaments in AAU, spring shootouts with different teams, but and definitely a heavy evaluation period in the summertime. Now, some of the tournaments we're allowed to go to, some other ones we can't go to, just depending on rules, but we're definitely in that process. And then I think once the summer's over, The key part is, like I mentioned before, is getting accepted in the school. And so the earlier you can do that, the better for our program. So you're looking at those seniors to be seniors that start in the fall of a certain year. Those guys that can apply and be accepted earlier will make the recruiting process much easier. In the overall grand scheme of things, we really start doing some recruiting, say probably towards those junior and senior years. We'll have a few players that have been recommended to us that might be freshmen or sophomores that we'll watch, but more importantly, towards that junior, senior year is when we start paying close attention and doing some heavy recruiting in that. And just for our timeline, basically what we're looking at is we're looking to identify, then we'll research, then we'll evaluate. So in those summer tournaments and high school shootouts and all those things, and then we'll initiate some type of contact, and then ultimately a campus visit sometime during their senior year. We've had students do one campus visit, multiple campus visits, so it just depends on what a student athlete's looking for, but also what they feel they need from our program, but also our school to get the best picture about what Augustana has to offer.
Awesome, Coach. Really appreciate the information there. To wrap up the podcast here, just real quick, in your opinion, when you guys are recruiting student athletes, what are just a few do's and don'ts, for a student athlete to focus on when they're going through the process?
Well, I think one of the most important things you can think about is it a good fit for me, or is it a realistic fit for me? You've got to be honest with yourself, looking at the time commitment that you're willing to put in, looking at the academic situation for an institution, but also looking at the fit as far as how things will go and how that fits with your family and personality. There's different levels in Division III basketball, just like there's different levels in Division II and Division I, and so there's nothing wrong with being realistic with yourself as to where you can play, where you feel comfortable, but more importantly, where you think you have the best chance to have a great overall experience. Nothing worse, and we don't see a lot of this at the Division III level, but a lot of transfer situations, but you would hate to bring in a kid that it just doesn't fit and then them have to transfer to another institution, because that's never good for either party. And so the first thing is being realistic with yourself. But secondly, where do you want to compete? One of the lines I like to use is, are you looking for a scholarship? Are you looking for something like that? Or are you looking to be able to tell your family about your career, how many championships you won, what type of games you played in, and those type of environments? So at Augustana, if you want to come play in big-time basketball games and in front of sellout crowds and hopefully in more NCAA tournament games, and you've got to understand that with that, comes a great responsibility to be prepared for those situations. So, and then the last thing is, I think, do some research. So research, programs, research rosters, roster size, research coaches, what's their track record, where have they been, have they been at multiple institutions, have they been there a long time, what's winning records, what's schedule look like, just so you can understand the commitment and maybe the strengths and weaknesses of a program. And then once that happens, then initiate contact. So whether that's sending an email, sending in video, letters of recommendation, initiate that contact so that you can get on mailing lists for an institution, and then you'll be in their system when they start to mail out different types of recruiting materials. And then lastly, if you do make contact with a coach and they say it might not be a good fit or you should maybe look at going somewhere else, and, just take that, for what it's worth. They're trying to help you in those situations, and also, just trying to make sure that it's a good fit for you and your family wherever you might be. So things happen for a reason. Timing happens for a reason. So understand that just because you're not a good fit at one program doesn't mean you can't have a great career somewhere else. And if you can follow those, then you'll be able to at least put your foot in the door in a good position for being on the radar for a school.
Really appreciate all this information, Coach. Some great stuff about Augustana, also some really good stuff about the recruiting process. One of your big do's for student athletes was to initiate contact, so I want to give you a chance here to let our families and people who are listening to this podcast know how to get in touch with Augustana, how to find a recruiting questionnaire, or follow you guys on Twitter. So I want to give you a chance to give them all that information.
Sure. Just to learn more about the school, you can go to www.augustana.edu. FYI, there is an Augustana Division II school in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So just make sure that you go to augustana.edu. For our athletics website, that's just going to be www.athletics.augustana.edu. You'll see men's sports. Click on basketball. That'll bring you to our home page, which will also have an additional link on there that says men's basketball recruit form. You can fill that out. It'll automatically be put into our system. If you can, fill that out as complete as possible. That'll help in both coordinating school information but also recruiting information that can be sent to you. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, be sure to check us out. Our handle for that is at Augustana_hoops. Once again, that's just at Augustana_hoops.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach Alex. We really appreciate the time you took today, and hopefully this will be very informational and very helpful to our family, so we really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. I think this is a great service. The more information we can get to families to understand kind of the Division III mentality, but also the recruiting process, the better. So I appreciate you having me.